Hey everybody, Cappy here. Hope you all having a great day today, wherever you may be, or getting off to a start of the day or ending a day. Welcome to Studio on 7, and yeah, you might see this cable dangling around. It seems to improve the sound of the video. Not so much hum from the aircon and the fan. So, this is take 2. Yesterday, this bright spark over here decided to do a recording with the microphone off. So this is take 2, microphone on, and I've got my USB plugged into my camera, and this is plugged into my camera as well, so that the sound may be a bit better. So what I thought was take you through some of my basic materials that I use for my Asian fusion style, which is a combination of Chinese, the Chinese art form of shui mo, which is water ink painting. The ink usually comes in a stick form, which you then grind using a stone similar to a knife sharpening stone for grinding the ink stick down. You put some water onto the stone and then you start to rub it. Now I don't have the patience for it. I guess I will get there one day, except that the sticks are really beautiful by design. I will try and find some of my sticks that I do have. They're beautifully done with a lovely dragon on it, and I don't know why you'd want to go and destroy a lovely ink stick with a beautiful dragon painted onto it. Anyway, this is what I use. It's the liquid ink. It's mainly used for calligraphy in the schools, so there's no grinding at the school. The kids can just pour the ink out and then use it for doing their Chinese calligraphy. So this is part 1 of what you need. Next thing you need is rice paper. Now I have different versions of rice paper. I also have watercolor paper. This is Japanese watercolor paper. It is 300 GSM, and it is made from or contains cotton. So a good watercolor paper, yes, when it's wet it does tend to bend, but it goes back to its normal form once done. So good quality paper. I have 3 different kinds of paper here, although they're all rice paper. I have this is 35 by 70 centimeter, so this would be used for a tall, like a bamboo or painting of a Japanese stork or some kind of stork from Asia. So I have that. This comes, I think there's 3 or 4 in a roll, 4 pieces in a roll, and this is manufactured here in Taiwan. That is the one version. Then there are 100 pieces of flat 26 by 38 centimeter pieces of paper. There's 100 in this, 100 sheets. Yes, it's not as good as this paper is, but once mounted it'll make a perfect portrait or picture in a frame. So I have 2 colors here. There's a white color and they have an off-white or a yellowy color paper as well. These papers can range from as little as, I think this was $54 for 100 sheets to $54 for 1 sheet, and a lot more expensive than that. So we have mulberry tree sheets as well, not only rice paper. So there's a number of sheets that we can use for this. Today I'm going to do a demo on one of my papers here so that you can see how I use these items in sketching. So we just pop that behind me. Okay, the other thing you need, good old tissue paper, because that's used for, there we go, dabbing the brush when it's too wet. Okay, you need water. You can also use the spray bottle. You need water for your brushes, obviously for cleaning, although Cappy hardly cleans his brushes. We have the transparent Chinese watercolors. They come in various sizes. You can buy the colors individually. I can just take out, okay, these three are stuck together. You can buy them in individual trays so that replacing your colors pretty easy. These are transparent, great for working with the black ink. So this is a box of 12. You do get larger boxes. You can also just buy specific colors that you want to use. Okay. The other thing that we use is what we call a chop, or in English it would probably be our stamp, but we use it as a stamp for our name. This is the Chinese version of my name. That's another thing you use. You may also want some clamps to stop the movement of the paper. Brushes. I don't use super expensive brushes. This brush here was about $325. It's a cheaper brush, my large brush. These brushes can range in price from, what was this one? $60, and they go all the way to $7,000 for a really top-end brush. But for me, it's not about the brush, it's about the person who is driving it. Yeah, this guy. If you're good enough, you utilize the tools that are given to you. And yeah, I do the best with what I can, and I try and make it affordable, especially for teaching, because you don't want your students to be out of pocket. If you can do it with a cheap brush, why not? The other brushes I use, I've got 3 fan brushes, large, medium, and this is my small. My medium is in the water. I use a number of brushes for Chinese brushes for painting. This particular one is for watercolors over here. So it's not stained, it's not dark, it's got only those colors there that I can utilize with this brush. This thing here, oops, let's get this camera jobby out the way. You go over there. Okay, this is used for mixing colors as well. I don't tend to use it a lot now. I use this for my color, and then this over here, I've got 2 of them. There's the other one over there. I use these bowls or dishes they're both ceramic, and I use them for doing my Chinese ink. So I put the ink in there. What I'll do now is wet this up, and it will be ready to go for some painting. So those are the basic things here. Some other things that you might want to grab: some pencils, different kinds of brushes, different strokes. I've got underneath the camera, behind my picture, I've got my acrylic brushes, and they're sitting in water at the moment getting clean. Pencils, mainly for sketching, not necessary for what I'm going to be doing here and now. Okay, so I need to get this out of the way. Pop that up there. That should be fine. You'll only see it in the camera. And let's get our piece of paper. Now, when working with this paper, we have two sides. We have a smooth side and we have a rough side. I work on the rough side because it gives you a great texture for what I particularly do, which are landscapes. So I'm going to pop on a clamp on this side here, on one on this side. Not going to fit, so we need to just bring this down a bit. There we go. Bit better now. And what's really good about the Chinese ink, just soften up this brush a bit. What's great about the Chinese ink is that you can just wet it and it comes back to life. Now my brush is too wet and you're going to get some really, well, I'll show you. You're going to see how dark it will be. That is loaded with water. It will dry. Once dry, it will go lighter shade, and as you keep painting, the brush dries out and you get further, you're able to get further lines and texture from the brush, which gives you great advantage for doing different kinds of trees. So you can do rocks as well, rock face, get different textures in depending on how wet the brush is. Once this starts to dry, then you can use, well, the brush starts to dry and that starts to dry, you can then start doing some shading, which then gives you better texture for your rocks. Okay, other ways to paint, you hold the brush should be held like this. That is the traditional way of holding the brush, so that you can control the stroke. So if you want to make start with a thin stroke and then get thicker and then thin again, so that you make a leaf, you put the brush down, and as you travel you get thicker and lift and move it away. So yeah, this takes a lot of practice. I'm not perfect at the exact Chinese style of painting, hence I do Asian fusion, which is a crossover between Chinese style and Western. So my favorites are doing landscapes. Okay, then with regards to doing this, the darker the value, the closer the object is to you. The lighter the value, the further the object is away from you. And then obviously with using your colors, you're going to use warm and cool colors, cooler colors at the back, warmer colors in the front. In workshops that I do, we go into a whole thing on just doing color. So that is in the courses that I'm certified to present, the worst method of painting. Welcome to come and give it a shot. If you look on my Facebook pages, you will see items that people have painted with me, things that I've done. The one behind me is a project from the academy that I'm certified to teach for, and yeah, maybe I'll just bring that a bit closer, just take it off the board here, and you can see this was done in acrylics. This is a recent project from our 30-day challenge. Distant rock face, closer rock face, and you notice the colors. The colors at the back here are cooler colors, here in the front warmer colors, and darker coming forward. So we teach this, and if you're an absolute beginner, we'll show you how to do it. Because once you walk out, you will walk out with a completed painting. Now, let's get back to some Asian fusion. Back onto the page, and I'm going to do some kind of landscape, my favorite. Okay, so we're going to start with some rocks on this side. Maybe put in some foliage in the rocks. Simple rock face here. This is basically allowing the brush to do the work for you, just so that you get an idea of how this goes together. Okay, utilize the brush to your advantage in order to make rocks. Okay, now I can use watercolor, the Chinese watercolors, and add color to this. I prefer the black on this, as it gives it a sketch. Just looking at this here now, and I'm seeing somebody staring at me, the face over here. Maybe you can spot it too. So anyway, let's get back to the drawing. Let's pop in a tree around about here. We start giving it a little bit of the dark side. Let's bring it forward a bit, forward from those rocks there. Okay. Pop in some grass, just using the brush, lifting it up to give you that texture. And we want to shade this rock, bring it forward. And then we want to come over to the other side. To look at the time. Because it is a school day and I've got to get this in before I go to school or when I come home in the evening. Morning is always good. Early morning even better. So we'll bring in some rocks from the back here, a bit further away. So using the brush, very light strokes in order to get that lighter effect. So maybe a small ridge running behind there. So we need to bring this rock face forward a bit. Give it a darker tone. And just add in some texture to the ridge. And let's give it some distance. So bring in a, let's say, a bit of a road. Road that runs through there, and let's just get this ridge coming down. Important here to do your brush strokes at the angle that the ridge would come down. Not if I want it straight down, I'm going to bring the brush straight down. In this case, I want it to move that way back into the picture. The tree is moving this way. Everything moving towards the center of the picture. So just keeping the composition and perspective right. Give this a bit of depth here. And now just to build up this rock in the center, in the front. Adding some shading. We want some shading on this side too. Bring this out. Excuse me. Bit of old frog in the throat there. Right, and then I may do a little bit more, bring out the sketching a bit more, maybe put in some color, something to ponder. So just giving you an idea of the materials that I use and a quick sketch for today. Now, this paper, I'd take it and I'd actually mount it onto something like this. You can see very transparent, so if I put some color behind it, the color will come through. Now that is also a technique that is used in Chinese painting, is that they do the color on the back of the paper instead of being on the front. That way they're preserving this here and the color comes through, as you saw over here. You can see the color coming through. It's a more subtle way of adding color to something like this in the Chinese art form. Hope you enjoyed my waffle today. Have a great day, and most of all, keep arting. Cheers. Well, cheers. Thanks for stopping by to watch the video. Keep well, have a great day, keep arting. Cheers.